with Amy K YouTube Live, and I'm hoping that all is good out there in YouTube land. The video was acting a little strangely when I went to start it, so I'm hoping everything is good. I'm going to proceed as though I'm assuming everyone is, can see what's going on and can see my project. So yay, it looks like the video is going, so I'm hoping all is good. We are going to work today on a project made with the Sailing Home Stamp Set Bundle, which is one of the bundles from the current annual catalog and one that I haven't used in a little bit. My husband asked me, he needed a sympathy card, unfortunately, so he asked me to make one for somebody that actually lived in Miami and was a boat person, and so he wanted something boat or nautical themed. So this is what I came up with. So I'm going to show you today how I made it really quickly here on the live video. And I'll be sharing all the details for this project on my on my blog tomorrow. So you'll see all the details. Once I post the link, you'll be able to see the details, and it'll be posted on Saturday morning. And again, as soon as the blog post goes live, I'll update the link in this video. So you'll be able to find the details about the card. So hey, Lori and Melanie and Pam, thanks for joining today. It is a really good bundle. It's one of those that I don't use often enough. I used it a ton at first, and then of course, we always have something shiny and new. And so, but it's a good one. It's got lots of beautiful images, and again, perfect for a lot of different occasions, but it works really well for sympathy cards, I think. So you want this bundle? Yes, you need to get it, Lori. Although it's not bundled anymore, it's a stamp set and die set available in the annual catalog. So let's start with the stamp set. It's called Sailing Home. And I used some of the nautical images out of it. I didn't use the sentiments because obviously there isn't a sympathy one in the set. So I grabbed another stamp set for that. But this is where the images came from that I had stamped, the lighthouse and the boats. Hey, Karen and Melanie and Karen, second Karen. So thanks so much for joining today. This is the die set that coordinates with it. They, again, like I said, they're not bundled anymore in the catalog, but you can still get the die set. It's called Smooth Sailing. And again, it's just another really good die set. It's it coordinates with the boats, the lighthouse, what else we got on here? The anchor. And then there are some accessory pieces like this little piece of rope, and there's a little knot, and this actually cuts out a couple of the sentiments. This one cuts out one of the sentiments. There's a ship's wheel. There are the little navigation, I'm sure there's a term for them, but the little navigation pieces, like navigation pieces. Anyway, the little arrows in the in your compass. I don't know what the name of them is. And then there's a little bit of kind of the seagrass and seaweed. So again, definitely a good stamp set, good die set. So if you don't have it, you need it. Hey, Barbara and Linda and Bree and Cindy, thanks so much for joining. And Diane, I see you're here too. So thanks a bunch. Two other stamp sets that I used on this card. The Woven Heirlooms is where I used the sentiment from because I thought it kind of matched the theme a little bit with the, I don't know, a little more rustic looking maybe is the term. I'm not sure that's the right term, but just a little more worn looking maybe. So I thought that sentiment was a good fit for the card front. And then Timeless Tulips, believe it or not, is another one that I haven't used. This is all stuff from the annual catalog. And this is one I haven't used in a little while, but it's perfect for spring. So if you don't have it, you need to get it. And there's a tulip punch that coordinates with it, that punches out some of the images here. It punches out the big tulip and one of the leaves. But I did use the sentiment from here, which says, "May the memories of yesterday comfort you today." So thought that was a nice sentiment for the inside of the card. Hey, Brooke and Bernadette, thanks for joining. I'm glad you guys are here, and Susan as well. A couple things to talk to you about before I get going on the card. We have got the Hey Chick and the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set bundles now available. They're available through June 30th. If you already have the Hey Chick stamp set from the celebration a couple years ago, then you're good to go. You can just get the dies that coordinate with it, or you can get them bundled together if you don't have them, or you can get them individually, however you want to buy it. And then we've got the Hey Birthday Chick stamp set and the Birthday Chick dies, which again, this is in the current mini catalog, but the die set is not. So you can get them together in a bundle, or you can get them individually. So however it works best for you is how you can get them. And then last thing, the Butterfly Bouquet and Butterfly Brilliance stamp set bundle and coordinating papers are available now. The details are posted on my blog. There's a link to this flyer on my sidebar, which is stampwithamyk.com. or you can also find them out in my online store. So go take a peek. The stamp set and dies are bundled together to save 10% if you're interested in that. And then they have a 6x6 pack of beautiful designer paper and Natural Touch specialty paper, which is a really cool wood grain paper. And again, you can get all these items individually, or you can get them all as one big bundle, or you can get this as a bundle and these individually, however you want to purchase it. Again, it's all available out in my online store. Gosh, Cindy, I am not sure. And yes, Bernadette, I did just start for a change. So, Cindy, it's okay on my screen. If anybody else wants to chime in and let me know, hopefully it's good on your screen. The video was acting a little strange when I went to start it up, so I'm hoping that all is good. Okay, so let's get started. And I'm going to assume it's good unless I hear from anybody else that they're having an issue. So hopefully it's all good. So I started with a piece of soft suede cardstock, and this is cut to 4 inches by 5 1/4. And good. Okay, thanks, Melanie. I appreciate that. This actually, like I said, all the details for this are going to be posted on my blog tomorrow, so I apologize. I get busy looking at the screen and forget what I'm supposed to be saying. Then I've got a couple of pieces of the designer paper from the, and the name is totally escaping me right now. Karen's on. I'm sure she'll come to my rescue. It's the Friends Are Like Seashells. It coordinates with the Friends Are Like Seashells stamp set bundle, and I should know the name of it, but it's totally flew out of my head the minute I opened my big mouth. So I've got a piece of that, and the piece on the top was cut to about 3 7/8 by 3 5/8, and then I've got a piece, a smaller piece that I'm going to put here down on the bottom. And this one is about 1 1/4 inches. And again, I'll be posting all the details and all the measurements out on my blog tomorrow. So it's about 1 1/4 inches by 3 7/8. And it's okay, there's a tiny little gap in here, which I'm not sure how well you can see it on the screen, but that's fine because we're going to cover it up with another die cut here in just 1 second. So, hey, Patricia, glad that you're joining. I appreciate you being here. Sand and Sea. Gosh, I knew it was something simple, and I'm like, why can't I come up with the name of this designer paper? Ugh. All right. So when I'm doing stamping on a project like this, and this is like my one shot to get it right. I could have stamped it on this piece of designer paper ahead of time and whatever, but it's a little hard to make sure you're getting it stamped in the right place and all that sort of thing, and right where you want it to be. So I went ahead and adhered everything together, and I'm going to use my Stamparatus. This is one of the many times when this comes in really handy because it gives you more than one opportunity to stamp it if you should happen to mess it up, which sometimes I do. And stamping on designer paper, I either do it really well or I do it really poorly. So I've got the sentiment again from the Woven Heirloom stamp set, and I already set it up here on my Stamparatus, and I basically just did that, stuck it on here, and then lifted it up, and I did some kind of test stamping with it. You can see the first time I put it on here, it was a little crooked. So then I just moved it up just a hair, and that made it straight. So that is how I test out when I'm using my Stamparatus to make sure that whatever I'm stamping is straight and where I want it to be. So I've got Night of Navy ink, and we're going to stamp the sentiment, hopefully neatly, on the card front. And I'm just going to tuck that up into the corner and then stamp it down. Give it a little press, and then lift it back up. And it's maybe not quite as dark as what I want it to be, so I'm going to go ahead and, again, the bonus with the Stamparatus, as long as I don't mess anything up, is that you can restamp it in the exact same spot. So just press it down, and there you go. And then we got a perfect image, which this is one of the many reasons why I love the Stamparatus. So, because it covers up, and, like I said, a lot of times when I'm stamping, for whatever reason, it's always on like the final project when I have it all pretty much ready to go, and then I mess it up. And then I have to start all over again. So that's why I love the Stamparatus. So, all right, next thing I did ahead of time is this is a piece of crumb cake cardstock, and I cut the little rope image from the smooth sailing dies. And I'm just going to take my liquid glue, and I'm going to put it a really thin line, hopefully, as long as I don't goop too much on here, right over the seam between the two pieces of designer paper. And then I'm going to take my rope, and I cut it intentionally a little bit long so that I would have a little bit of room to maneuver it around and make sure that I get it on here and hopefully get it on here straight. So I can use my grid paper as my guide. So I've got it lined up here. So that means it should be lined up straight here as well. So as long as I'm pretty well in the same ballpark, then I can assume that I'm straight and all is good. Then I'm going to take my paper snips and I'm going to trim off the little overhang of the rope. Well, it's not real rope, you know, the overhang of the paper rope. So that's even with the edge of the soft suede designer paper, or soft suede cardstock. One of these days I will learn how to talk. All right. Next thing I did is I went ahead and, hey, Debbie, glad you're here. And no worries on being a little late. We haven't done too much ahead of time, so. So I cut this out from Sahara Sand cardstock. And again, it's one of the dies from the Sailing Home stamp set, or Sailing, it's Friday and it's beautiful and warm outside. And you know, I don't know, when it's cold, my brain doesn't work. When it's warm, my brain doesn't work. Maybe it just doesn't work. So this is from the Sailing Home dies. And I'm using a little bit of liquid glue, just putting a couple little dots here and there. And I'm just going to drop it right there on my card. And I was actually pretty close to where I wanted it to be. So it didn't come out all bad. And then I'm going to use glue down here for just to hold it down for a second to make sure it's stuck down. And hopefully it's close to where I want it to be. All right, let me set that aside and we'll finally do some stamping and I'll see how many of those things I can drop. So, all right, I've got soft suede ink and the lighthouse image from the Sailing Home stamp set. I'm just going to ink it up, and it's basic white cardstock that we're stamping on. This would also be really pretty, I think, in vanilla, but the Very Vanilla didn't match the designer paper, so that's why I went with the white instead of Very Vanilla on it. And I've got a couple of the boat images here. So I have the larger boat that I'm going to stamp in Night of Navy ink, and the smaller one we're going to stamp in Seaside Spray. And then we're going to do a little quick die cutting, and then we'll finish the assembly of the card front. Okay, just hoping that I get good images and good die cuts. If not, you know, there's always the other side. So, all right, again, this is Seaside Spray ink that I'm using for the final little boat image. And when I'm stamping and doing this kind of thing where I'm hoping to die cut everything all in one swing, which it doesn't always work, sometimes I have to do it a second time, but I try to stamp them a little bit further apart on the piece of paper so that I have room for the edges of the dies around it. So again, I'm going to grab my smooth sailing dies, and I'm going to use the boat, this boat die, and the lighthouse die, and I'm going to quickly chop these out. My die cutting machine is set up over here, not shed up, set up over here to my right. So I'm going to do some quick die cutting, and so I'll be off screen for 1 second. Hey, Jean Ann, thanks for joining today. Is it beautiful down there in Georgia, or are you guys cold again? It's gorgeous here today, but I'm hearing we're going to get cold this weekend. And then I saw that we potentially could have snow next week. I'm like, what in the world? We just finally are getting rid of the snow here. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen. All right, let's crank these through and see what we get. All right, got our die cuts here. And looks like I got reasonably straight. This boat could probably be a little straighter, but I think it's okay. The images are all on the paper, and that's what counts, so we're going to go with that. All right, let me put these dies over here on my magnetic sheet before I lose track of those, because, yes, I've done that before, too. And I know Karen is on the hunt. She's still got a die that's missing. So, all right, let me grab a couple of adhesives here, and we're going to use just Stampin' Seal to adhere down the lighthouse and the smaller of the two boats. And this was, the layout for this one was actually for a sketch challenge, which it's, you know, it's a little, kind of a collage-y looking sketch. So a little different, but I thought it worked out okay with the boat images on it. And then I'm going to tuck this little boat right up over here. And then the bigger boat, I'm going to adhere on with some Stampin' Dimensionals. And then we just have the little ship's wheel to add on to the front, and the card front's going to be pretty much done. All right, if I can get the dimensionals off the paper, that is. There we go. And those are my little half dimensionals. The dimensionals come and they're twice this size, but I am, as Karen says, frugal or cheap or whatever you want to call me. And I like the half dimensionals better, so that's what I use on my projects. But there's always debate, and some people love them. Some people don't understand why in the world you would do it, but that's the fun part about Stampin'. You get to do what you want to do. So, all right, so ahead of time I went ahead and cut one of the ship's wheels out of soft suede cardstock, and I'm just going to add a little bit of liquid glue and try not to get too heavy-handed with it. And just a little liquid glue right around the edge of the ship's wheel, and then flip it over and around my sentiment in here and making sure that it's mostly on the card front. It's okay if it overhangs a little bit, but you don't want it to be way out and then like in the way so you can't get the card into the envelope. So, all right. Oh gosh, you're now watching me on a big screen. Oh, I should have put some lotion on and maybe done my nails. Now I feel all like, ew. So, okay, so we are going to go ahead and put this onto a card front, and I have got crumb cake cut for my card base. My original card, I had done a 4 1/8 by 11 and scored at 5 1/2, so it's the top opening card. For the card I'm making today, I'm just using your standard side fold card, so that card base is cut to 5 1/2 by 8 1/2 and scored at 4 1/4. So this, almost all of the card fronts that I make will work on either type of card base. So you can pick the one that's your favorite and do that. So like I said, I prefer the top folding ones just because they're a little different. But if you prefer the side folding ones, these will work perfectly for that as well. All right, I'm going to go ahead and adhere this to the card front and hopefully get it fairly centered and straight. And I think I did it. So I'll be watching on the TV once you learn how to get YouTube set up on it. Oh, now y'all are making me nervous. I don't know if I want you watching me on the big screen. Then you can see all my goobers. So, all right. On the inside of the card, again, I use the sentiment from the Timeless Tulip stamp set, which is the one that says, "May the memories of yesterday comfort you today," and soft suede ink. And just going to stamp that kind of right in the center of the card front, or center of the basic white cardstock, hopefully, if I can get it centered in here. And then we're going to add one of the little ship's anchors, and I stamped that in Sahara sand ink next to it. And again, no specific special placement on it, just kind of stamped it so that it was tucked up around the sentiment. And because this is one of the red rubber stamps, you know, you can't see exactly where you're placing it, but you can kind of get a pretty good idea of it. Stamp that right next to it. And that's all for the inside of the card. So again, I kept it pretty simple. Sympathy cards, I don't tend to usually go too over the top on those. But hopefully my husband will like the way this one turned out and be okay with sending it. All right, so we're going to adhere this to the inside of the card. And we will be all done for today. All right, so that's it. Just a little stamp and seal to the inside of the card. I'm going to use my bone folder and give that a little crease here. And slide all my mess out of the way and bring the other card back in. So this is the one I'd made ahead of time as a sample. This one is the one that I made here today. And as you can see, the pieces on it always end up in just a little different spot because, you know, it's handmade and it's not, you know, a printed press or anything where you get to kind of move things around and wiggle it around on the card front as you need. So hopefully you like the card. I appreciate y'all being here today. Melanie's asking, do I always cut my standard dimensionals in half? Pretty much. Almost always. It's very, very rare when I don't. And I don't know why I like them better that way. I guess my original upline, Sandy McIver, if you know any fans of Sandy out there, she's the person I signed up under for Stampin' Up! And she's the one who showed me that trick. And I'm like, oh, that's so smart. And that's why I do it, is I just, you know, chop them up. I actually feel like they fit better than the minis do in a lot of places. And I feel like they fit better than the big ones do in a lot of places. So I don't know, I just like them better. And that's why I do it. So hopefully that sort of answers your question. But again, thanks everybody for joining today. And it's definitely, I mean, I pulled this set out too. This is one I hadn't used in ages, and I like it. It's a good one. It's very pretty. I love the images in it. It's the distinctive look to it, so it kind of gives it, you know, more depth in some of the stamping. And all you have to do is ink it once and stamp it once, and it looks like you've, you know, made a masterpiece. So Thank you all for joining. I appreciate you being here today. I will plan to, and Barbara cuts hers in half. Yay! I'm glad I'm not the only crazy one. So I appreciate y'all being here, and I will plan to be live on my Facebook channel on Tuesday around 2 o'clock Eastern Time, and then back here on YouTube Live on Friday around 2 o'clock Eastern Time. So again, I appreciate you being here. Have a fantastic weekend, and we will chat soon.